POV, me caressing your face because it's been a while since I've last seen you. Tickle, tickle, tickle. Hello everyone. Hi. It's been so long. So the previous video that you saw was filmed like a month ago, like when I first moved into the apartment. It was like a couple of days of filming, and editing took a while. Finally, everything has settled in. I just wanted to talk to you guys for a bit, chat a little bit, give you guys a little life update, what I've been up to and all that, because yeah, I've missed you guys. It's been 2 months, I think. Well, not including the previous video that I just put out, which was a bookshelf reorganization. This was supposed to go out first, but the thing that happened was that the audio, for some reason, was echoing like so badly, and I couldn't fix it in post-production. So I was just like, I'll just call it a loss, gotta refilm. But luckily, it was just like a chatty, updated video. So how you guys been? I hope you guys have been doing well. You know, we have fully transitioned into the lighter, brighter, and warmer season, and going into summer. So pretty exciting. Anyways, so what has recently happened? We moved. It was pretty much one of the most stressful experience of my whole life. Like the first move from my hometown in the Bay Area in San Jose to San Francisco was pretty easy. Going from SF to LA also was pretty easy. The biggest factor in that is that we obviously had movers. This third time around, instead of being in one place for like a year and then moving, we decided to stay for like another year to find an apartment that we liked, that fit within, you know, our means and everything and our criteria. And we found it, albeit 2 years later. And by that time we have accumulated a lot more stuff. And even though I got rid of like a trunk full of books, so many books, it was still a back-breaking process. And the apartment that we're actually in now wasn't even our first choice. We just got it because we couldn't get the first unit that we applied for in the same building. Don't get me wrong though, this one's really nice. We are also living in our third corner unit apartment. It has lots of natural light. Maybe I'll do like an apartment tour. I mean, I will post some moving clips. Okay, so before we get further into the video though, I would like to thank today's video sponsor, taking it over from Future Ellias. So before we get further into the video, I would like to thank today's video sponsor, none other than Book of the Month. Book of the Month is essentially a subscription book service where every month, without fail, you get the most anticipated, hottest, and latest release in their signature blue box, just like this. Every month, their editorial team goes through hundreds of new and early release titles so that you can spend more time reading and less time researching. They also have the best prices for any newly released hardcover fiction book out there. Speaking of, I have a special code that you can use to get your first book for only $5. You can use the code PETALS and choose from a wide range of 5 to 7 release titles, as well as audiobooks. And even on the app, they have loyalty points for standing members, as well as fun challenges to participate in. All right, so for my first selection, I chose 5 Broken Blades. I've been on a huge fantasy kick lately. This one sounds really intriguing. It primarily follows these 5 different people who are tasked to kill a wicked, powerful king. However, there's one caveat. Only one of them can, claim the crown. Basically, whoever kills the king gets the crown. And so 5 of these people are in competition with each other, but also working towards one primary goal, which is to vanquish the conquerors. So we shall see. Next up, we have The Real Americans by Rachel Khong. And all I know about this is that it primarily follows 3 generations of one family, and just asking the basic premise of this question of what makes an American identity. All right, and there you have it. Don't forget to use code PETALS to get your first book for only $5. And thank you once again to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. And with that being said, back to your regular broadcast. The move was strenuous. I was making it my mission, my goal, to move no more than 15 boxes of the small to medium boxes from Home Depot. They're just easier to carry because I find just moving books in medium to large boxes impossible to carry. So we decided, since we're moving within the realm of the city in LA, we were like, we don't really need movers. We got this. We're grown. oh gosh. It wasn't even the books in general. It was just, we just had so much more stuff. And driving back and forth for a whole single week, it was a lot. Just moving the books back and forth, unpacking, packing it, shelving it. I'm just like, guys, this will never happen again. 3rd time's a charm, not for the books. Because of the Kindle that I got, reading so far for me has been the most lucrative, just most amount of fun in terms of quality and quantity this year for me. I think within like the first 3 to 4 months, I have already reached like half of my reading goal from last year. Every month now, that averages out to like 7 to 10 books per month. Also, I was influenced because these are the TikTok microphones that everyone has been raving and talking about. And so far, they've been giving me such a headache. If I shake it just a little bit, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's super sensitive to any of like the jiggly buttons or anything like that. Again, there was a huge echo delay in like the previous video that I tried to film as well. It's convenient though because it's a really small handheld mic, but at what cost to my sanity? So I've been really, really obsessed with this subgenre of fantasy called litRPG after reading and completing my first web novel from Mother of Learning. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I made a whole basically dedicated video just talking about that particular series. It's a 4-book series. It's a web novel, but it recently got like edited and updated, and it's being published physically as well. It was my first web novel that had to do with like time loops, time travel, arcane talking spiders, just transcending gods. It was so interesting. So I went down this rabbit hole of finding similar books in that vein, and I found this other series called Arcane Ascension, which is comprised of, I want to say, 4 to 5 books. I've completed 4 of the books. I think the 5th one's coming out this year. I finished 4 of those books as well within a week, and it was so good. This one was a little bit different because it had to do with like dungeons and progressions and more in depth with runes and how this one character, after completing this particular dungeon to get his ascendant rune or to see what class he would fit in, he gets this enchanter rune where he gets to tinker with like different objects. And this particular like subset, like class, is not as popular as other magic sets. And so he's sort of like brushed aside. No one really takes him seriously. However, what he lacks in like power and magic, he ascends in mind and just intelligence overall. And just using like cheats, which I find so funny because, you know, most of the time in the books that I read similar to this, they are trying to find some other way to deal with this, and they find that, oh my gosh, maybe they have a power that no one ever utilizes or thought they would ever use, and in this way they're more powerful. But no, this guy in this character, he uses like so many cheats to get to where he needs to be or where to go. What I find really interesting with this subgenre called litRPG, it basically embraces or takes the tropes that we all know and love to play in like role-playing games, which RPG stands for, and incorporates that in book form, hence litRPG. A lot of this can have dungeons, progression, characters grinding and leveling up, you know, in that sort of vein. Like think Skyrim or Elden Ring, for an example. What all these books have in common so far is that they have to do with this character who isn't, you know, starting out strong in the first place, but his trajectory from like point A to point Z, astounding, crazy, insane. But both of these series so far, Mother of Learning and Arcane Ascension, have characters who start in a magical school setting, which I love. If you know me, I love me a good magical school in which there are powerful people at play and just doing their own thing, you know? And it's almost like a slice of life in a way because we are only focused on these characters prominently. And what I really love about this genre is that it is so easy to get into and so accessible. In a good RPG, you are immediately thrust into like this fantasy setting. However, in a good game, it's easy to get into the controls, the characters, the story, and the world building. Exactly the same in these books because it's a little bit different from like other fantasy books that I have read just because it's less chaotic and less dense for me so far. I really like reading these books because they're just easy to grasp and I can just slip into these books whenever I want. I feel like if I read any of these books, it would be so easy for me to just go back into it again without losing what I have read in the first place or remembered. I never would have ever imagined that this genre would have existed. I am like confounded and astounded that all this exists, and it is so good. It's progression fantasy, I think that's what it's called, plays a huge factor in that. Mother of Learning deals with like time loops and time travel. Arcane Ascension deals with like ascending into godhood via dungeons and like leveling up. And the third and last and final series that I'm currently reading, guys, this is a 12-book series, and honestly, it has fulfilled my empty core. So if you guys didn't know, I finished the 16-book series of The Realm of the Elderlings by Hobb, and I gotta say, that shit just hits different. Rejuvenated, fulfilled, completed, and obliterated in the same exact way. I'll be making a separate video talking about the last trilogy, but holy, it was so good. Perhaps one of the best fantasy set of books I've ever read. Like, okay, if you want quality and quantity, Robin Hobb, the way she does characterization and world building, like the sprinkles from like book 1 all the way to book 16. And even then, in the last book, you guys, Robin Hobb got me. I was really thinking like, oh my god, I don't like where this is going. I was repeating that sentence in my mind for the first like half of the book. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't like this direction. Like, what is happening, Robin Hobb? Why are you doing this? I gotta stop. Stop, Ellias. Sit down, chill, take a breather. Trust in your queen, in your fantasy queen, because she did it all right. She did it so well. I cried. It was so good. No other fantasy series has come close. Like, I haven't read a big fantasy series like this before. Insane. Robin Hobb, you know, even though she is well known in the fantasy community, I still think she's still underrated. I want her name to be as popular as like, who's that author from the Game of Thrones, or Brandon Sanderson? I feel like I want her name blasted and broadcasted all across the world. And I know that we are getting a spinoff in the same exact world, but except it's taking her a really long time. And hey, I'm like, take your time, queen. I don't want to give away what this next spinoff is just because I don't want to give away any spoilers, okay? I actually made separate videos talking about each trilogy. If you want to check that out, they both contain spoilers and non-spoilers as well. So anyways, going back, I'm currently reading the 12 books series in this sort of like in this litRPG genre, okay? This 12 book series is called Cradle by wight. And oh my god, it might be, oh my god, you guys, every single book that I've read, from Mother of Learning to Arcane Ascension to Cradle, has been 4 to 4.5 to 5 stars. I usually reserve 5 stars for like my all-time favorites, but these books are just too damn good. Like, I think this is the most amount of 5 stars that I have given out to any amount of books this year. We have so many 4.5, 5 stars, 4-star reads. It's insane. Okay, this 12 book series by wight, it's a little bit different. Let me explain. So when you hear 12 book series, you might be really intimidated, right? Not me. Not anymore. After completing and finishing a 16 book series from the realm of the Elderlings, where each book was 400 to 900 pages, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Like, it was so cathartic in a way. Anyways, I'm not talking about realm of the Elderlings. I am currently reading Cradle, and this 12 book series is only comprised, I think I want to say like 1280 to like 320 pages. Each book consecutively. As you progress, it does get a little bit longer, but it's a relatively fast, easy fantasy series to get into. So it primarily follows this young man named Lyndon. He basically is unsouled after he participates in like this ceremony to see what magic he has inherited in his like bloodline or whatever. And so it turns out he doesn't have any magic like at all. And this is a very common trope, right? However, how this trope utilizes this in a way is that he finds out that he is different from everyone else, and how he utilizes that difference to propel him to become one of the most powerful people in like not the entire planet, but the entire different iterations of the worlds. Just taking what I said, different iterations of different worlds and galaxies and just universes. Okay? Like, this is ascending beyond godhood. Like, he's not just staying in this realm. It's how do you ascend beyond like where he's at. So I don't want to get too much into it, but there are different attributes and things that he finds that is so much more than in a small village. What all 3 series has in common is that they're just so easy to get into. They start off relatively small with really weak but really likable characters who start off in a very small, subtle location, but then in further books expand and go beyond into what they know as like, you know, their little worlds. And it's just so interesting how each and different series goes about this. Mother of Learning, really great, goes into different continents. Arcane Ascension, also great, goes in a similar vein. But Cradle goes vastly beyond what we know is this world, and it's just so interesting. And they all take place in a really unique fantasy setting with really interesting, driven characters and just a spectacular set of like magic system. Like the magic system in here, oh my gosh, I just yearn to read more about the magic system in these books than other fantasy series because they're not bogged down by so much information or just super dense to understand. Yes, it can get a little repetitive and too much information, but still easier, way easier to understand than most of the other fantasy books. So what I'm telling you is please go do yourself a favor. If you want to get yourself into a web novel, but you don't know where to start, read Mother of Learning. It's literally free to read online. The author posted the entire book like online. So I've been on a fantasy kick, a fantasy era at the moment of what you call it. But litRPG, this genre is so amazing. I love it so much. My first web novel with Mother of Learning, which was written, by the way, at the time by a college engineering student. So, and it is fantastic. Arcane Ascension, also great as well, but Cradle by Wright. Oh my god, it is so good. Yeah, I highly recommend the lit RPG genre if you really want to get into that. I think Cradle is really great. If you don't want to invest too much into it, I think Mother of Learning might be the best. I almost flew through the entire series in like a week in April. So it is the beginning of May and I have the last 2 books to complete and finish. What else have I been reading? Oh my gosh, I also finished Warbreaker, finally, by Brandon Sanderson. This book was good. It wasn't as enjoyable as I thought it would be. I honestly had such a hard time getting into it in the first place. I had to push myself getting into like the first 50 to 100 pages. I kept putting it off. I kept putting it down. But you know what? I pushed myself, listened to the audiobook, and I finished it. I was listening to this like during the move as well. And it was good. I liked it. Now I can finally progress into the other series that I've been meaning to read. The second book in the Way of Kings. I think it's called The Swords of Radiance or Radiance of Swords or something like that. And I heard that this is the first part in a series. The first 5 books is the first part, which is crazy. Brandon is crazy. He writes so many books. And the 5th book in that series is coming out in December. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And what else have I been reading? Oh my gosh, I read another book that I gave 5 stars to, and it is so good. It's called The Sword of Kagan by M.L. Wang. You guys, this is a martial arts inspired fantasy with an element of waterbending. It has one of the most unique relationships I've ever read in fantasy in general. It follows a mother and her son, and the relationship between the two, the backstory, and just how they have to weave like family politics together and tread carefully with like really dangerous and delicate secrets, especially when tragedy strikes their homeland and they have to fight back. Oh my gosh, the relationship between the mother and son, easily the best part of that book. But everything about it, the way they utilized water and ice, how that particular power runs in their family and bloodline was so interesting. And also the fight scenes, like crazy, insane. Like I was visualizing Demon Slayer visuals throughout it. Demon Slayer is an anime, by the way. I heard that there are other books, but this was sort of like a standalone prequel. So take with that as you will. But easily 5 out of 5. And aside from reading other books for my Patreon book club, which, by the way, I reread Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter. And you guys, this brought like a different perspective and just a newfound appreciation for her because easily another 5-star read. And this time, reading it now, I switched to the other character that I disliked in my first read. That was really interesting. And I also made all of my patrons reread the first book of Mother of Learning with me. We're currently finishing the read right now, but it's just really interesting seeing and hearing everyone's respective takes on it. So that was really fun. And so this month around, we are reading a different set of books in a different format. That is graphic novels with Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. We are reading the first 3 volumes and seeing how we like it if we want to continue beyond that. But we'll see. So I'm excited. And so, yeah, in a new place now, in a new chapter of my life, and hopefully restarting that creative spark to create something. So, yeah. I also want to show you guys quickly 2 of the books that Penguin has sent over to me. 2 arcs. Okay, the first one is Brat by Gabriel Smith. So this one primarily follows this young writer who falls into an inheritance after the death of his father. However, he soon finds out that the house that he has inherited is haunted. And his skin may or may not be peeling off as well. So we're getting some surrealist aspects here. He also has to deal with like grief and just really weird things bumping into the night. So yeah, really looking forward to reading this just based on the title alone. So the next book is one of my most anticipated reads of 2024, and this is Anyone's Ghost by August Thompson. This one primarily follows the first romance between these 2 teenagers going into their like mid-20s. And sort of like the aftermath of what happens after one of them gets killed in a car accident. And that's not a spoiler. It literally states it in the blurb as well. And just cycling grief as everyone does in a gay relationship. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to my seasonal dose of sad, gay, depressed books. Anyways, I think that is pretty much all I want to talk about regarding books-wise. But, oh my gosh, you guys. I just came back the other day watching Challengers. Mind-blowing. The last 10 minutes of that movie literally broke my knees. And not in the way that you think. Oh my god, it was so stressful. Who knew watching tennis in that particular format, in that way, could be just so heart-wrenching and just, it was so good. The score, the music, the just directing, the cinematography, the alkality of it was so, it surpassed and exceeded my expectations regarding what I was thinking going into the movie in the first place. It was just so good. Zendaya and her two white boys, oh my gosh. I love churros, and that's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, this turned into a little mini updates / reading wrap up. Please let me know down in the comments below what books you guys have been currently reading or loving at the moment. And I really, really highly recommend all of the books that I currently mentioned. Sword of Kagan, Cradle, Arcane Ascension, Mother of Learning, all of the above. Again, as always, I will leave my Patreon linked down below as well in case you guys are looking for extra content, reading sprints, and all that. I am finally back, and you guys will be seeing some older backlog content that I did film at the previous apartment. I filmed a book unhaul as well as the review for the Rainwild Chronicles. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you guys soon.